this war with relentless determination across the world.
Dear Mr. President, don't start this war.
5 years after our nation was attacked, the terrorist danger remains. We're a nation at war, and America and our allies are fighting this war with relentless determination.
Good to see you. Welcome to VCAP.
Mr. President, don't start this war.
Joe. Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
How are you? Nice job.
Kind of line up. Just wait, get a chance. Come on, fellas. John Baptist, House Manager of the Veterans Building.
All right, very good.
Abraham Lincoln, Chief Foreign Officer, United States Navy, President of the Reserve Bank.
DFW. I'll rest up myself. We have Vietnam.
Paul Dorsari, American Legion, Post 603 Commander, retired Reserve, U.S. Army, HUA.
All right. All right, Army guy.
Orlito Moises, U.S. Navy, retired, and also the President of Vallejo Council, Building Council.
All right, very good.
Well, thank you all for your service, and thanks for the very nice welcome.
Yeah, have a seat, gentlemen, and I'll walk you over here, sir. James Kennedy.
Gary Smith, I'm a retired Navy Master Chief Storekeeper, submarine qualified, and today we're here with Congressman Thompson. Definitely a pleasure for the Congressman to show up and get an opportunity to talk to him, to find out how he feels about military organizations, veterans building, the community, and it's just a pleasure to be able to have that interface because we don't get it very often. How's that?
I'm really concerned about the attack currently that's being made on the Constitution of the United States. The document that we all believe in, we all swore to defend. We've either for 2 years, 4 years, or 20 plus years of doing that defense. And right now it seems to be under great attack from a lot of sides because of issues like social justice, environmental justice, and things of that nature. I'm wondering about your position on that.
Well, I support the Constitution. I've taken an oath to protect it, both in the military. As you heard, I went to Vietnam. After taking that oath, I served in the Army in combat in Vietnam. I came back. I was an instructor in the Army's Airborne School. I served in state legislature. I served in Congress. Was on the Veterans Committee when I first got here. Certainly support the Constitution. I don't know specifically what it is you're talking about. One person's attack on the Constitution is another person's right to champion the Constitution. So I believe in justice, I believe in freedom, I believe in liberty, and I believe in opportunity. And I think that's what America stands for. And I think every American needs to be offered and considered those considerations and those opportunities. That's what we all fought, I'm assuming. We didn't. I know I didn't. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I didn't go to war so a couple of shareholders could get rich. I went to war so all the stakeholders could have a seat at the table and have a fair opportunity and a fair shot at living the American dream. And that's what I think my voting record shows. That's my position, and that's where I'm always going to be. You mentioned the environment. I consider myself a strong environmentalist for a whole bunch of different reasons. One, because I'm an outdoors person. I hunt and I fish. I love the outdoors. I want to make sure my grandkids and their grandkids have the same opportunities that I do. Because of the environment, we're able to breathe clean air and clean water. And I want to make sure that we're able to continue to do that. And we've got some very serious environmental challenges, challenges that put at risk our national security. And look no further than the energy challenges that we have. Those are as much about environmental issues as they are about being able to get in the car and drive to work in the morning. And a lot of folks poo-poo that, you know, and you hear a lot. And I think that's just foolishness, because not only can we not continue for a number of reasons. One, there's a lot of jobs, the future of our economy relies on that. Number two, we're never going to be able to have only fossil fuel. There's not enough of it in our country to fit our needs. And we have to, and we'll always have to import fossil fuel. And when we do that, we're oftentimes buying it from people who aren't our friends. And so we're giving them money to undermine the things that you mentioned that you're for. And then the whole issue of how the burning of fossil fuel impacts our environment. The whole issue of climate change. I believe climate change is very real. I believe it's a threat. And I find it very interesting that the people who are most outspoken about climate change are the ones who are also the most outspoken about our military and our intelligence community. And I say that I find it interesting because our military and our intelligence community is spending tens of millions of dollars trying to figure out and plan for what's going to happen because of climate change. The geopolitical ramifications of raising water levels is absolutely staggering. And you're talking about moving entire populations. That creates all kinds of global conflict. And as you all know, it's pretty hard to turn around today without any global conflict touching our shores. And that's something we all should be concerned about.
But are you also skeptical of the science that's behind that?
I'm skeptical. I'm a trust but verify kind of guy.
Good.
But wait a second. On climate change, no, I'm not skeptical. All the scientists in the world will tell you that climate change is very, very real. The only thing that is, I think, not quantifiable is how much of it is man-made focused. But there is a man-made component. What that is still probably debatable. But if you look at the long list of quote-unquote scientists who've come out against climate change, if you believe those guys, I got a bridge to sell you. Because this is all funded by the most environmentally insensitive corporations and individuals around. And if you look at that list of people, they're not the type of science. Only thing you have to be to qualify to be in that group is you have to have a degree in some kind of science. So it doesn't have anything at all to do with the types of sciences that actually deal with that discipline. Climate change stuff, it's very, very real. And I had a conversation yesterday, given the fact that you're here wearing the hat that you're wearing, about the issue of climate change and how serious this is. A guy by the name of General Wesley Clark, who is the Supreme Commander of NATO, one of the most impressive military people in our history. And I had to listen to him for 10 minutes telling me what I already know, and that is climate change is real and we got to do something about it. So I work with the military guys and the intelligence folks regularly, and this is a major issue that should concern all of us.
Change the subject.
Sure.
What's your views on gun control?
Well, I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm a gun owner. I'm a hunter. I have. I can open my wallet and show you my hunting license, and it's current. I've got a little bit of a gun collection. I think that law-abiding folks should be able to own legitimate firearms for legitimate purposes. And I draw a shoulder-held, surface-to-air missile falls into that category. And I know that some people do. Some strict Second Amendment folks think you should be able to, own a Scud missile if you want. And I don't think you should. I think that, and I think if you've got a criminal background or a mental health background, I don't think you should be able to own a gun. And I think the laws worked fairly well. When I was in the state senate, I actually carried legislation dealing with gun control. I'm the guy that passed the bill that said that you're responsible for your firearm. And so if somebody if you leave your gun loaded on the table and a kid picks it up and shoots your wife, you have a responsibility on that because you didn't take care of the gun that you had. That was legislation that was supported strongly by the NRA as well as the anti, for lack of a better word, group of people. As far as, a lot of people are worried about politicians taking their guns away. The only reason you have to worry about that with me is if you had one of the guns that I collect. Pardon me? I think that local sheriffs ought to have control over who gets a concealed weapons permit. I don't think there should be anybody can carry anything type of rule, and I think there needs to be some sort of watch to make sure that people who don't people who have criminal backgrounds, people who have mental health history, things of that nature, I don't want them carrying a gun. But I think the system that we have works well, where you go into the sheriff's department, you fill out an application, and I don't know, do any of you have concealed weapons permits? It's a pretty lengthy process. You have to go through and fill out a bunch of stuff. They check it, you do fingerprints, etc. Yeah, and you pay a fee, which I know it's about 120 bucks now, I think.
Congr?
But wait a second. But if you've got any Model 21 Winchester double barrel guns, any Model 12s or Model 42s or Model 70 rifles, see me.
My brother released an ordinance in state.
A 28?
Shotgun,
A 28 gauge or a Model 28?
28 gauge.
What model?
Old vintage
Pump?
Winchester,
Pump?
double barrel.
We need to talk.
You want to?
You think I could buy that from you today?
Okay, Paul, you have
I'm
a
a
question?
20, I've got two models, I have two 28 gauge shotguns, I absolutely love them. They're fun to shoot and they're just really neat guns, so if you want to sell it, let me know. Also duck decoys and a number of things I collect.
I think there's part of it on the duck decoys.
Pardon me?
I think all the decoys are gone, I think we're part of it.
Oh, no, that can't be.
Make them say from these cold dead hands.
Well, Vallejo has a rich history of water fountains. You probably know this. They made duck decoys at Mare Island Naval Shipyard. A lot of the guys it was just a natural. They duck hunted, they were pattern makers, they were carpenters, they were painters. A lot of them wait for decoys that all the guys replicated. And then in the 40s, there was what they refer to in the history books as an unauthorized,
A lot of things don't change in Mare Island. A lot of things.
Oh, I know. I'm just talking about the decoy. But they made canvasback and sprig, and they call it unauthorized. They call it unauthorized because it was set up by the people at Mare Island, but it was kind of under the radar. And they stamped on the back of those decoys the letters. The acronym was COMMENS. It was Commissioned Officers Mess, Mare Island Naval Shipyard, and those are fairly collectible decoys because the people that used them, and I'm told, no offense to any of you here who may have been an officer, but I was told that the officers didn't really have a lot of respect for them. They'd come in, it was visiting officers would come in, they'd get some decoys, they'd go out and they'd hunt, and they'd say, oh, they can make some more, no sense in picking them up. So a lot of them washed off.
operation. Okay, James Dickerson, Disabled American Vets, just walked in. Ben, we're gonna go to you.
Okay, thank you, Congressman, for coming and spending some time with us. Getting back to military affairs, I'm talking about TRICARE for Life and the rumors that we hear that that's going to increase quite a bit on us. And while we have our folks in Washington come see it, could you give us an update on
that? Everything's being looked at now. You know the situation on the financing, both at the state level, the county level, the city level, the federal level. So everything is being looked at. And I think that probably everything is at risk. My view is when folks signed up for the military, they entered into a contract with the government. And when folks were told that they would have health care for life, I believe that's a contract that needs to be honored. and I've always fought hard for that and will continue to do so.
Thank you very much. Back in the forties, after World War II, that was part of the enlistment contract, was you would have free healthcare for life.
Yep.
That's when we were getting paid $56 a month.
I never tell anybody that veterans should get the health care they deserve, because I think that is a misnomer. Veterans should get the health care they earned.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we need to put that into our.
Well,
Changing the subject, we, all the veterans meet in buildings in cities and different counties, and we find that the buildings are very old. Is there a way for the federal to help us get money to help maintain these buildings? Because now we have to come up with fundraising. For example, in our building, $12,000 is to pay off what we owe to Solano County. Is there anything that you can do in the federal so we can get some grants for the veterans building?
It's not a new issue. This has been going on for a long time. Most of the buildings that veterans have and are able to use are old buildings. They were old when they got them, and they've been strung together with baling wire and bubble gum. And they've deferred maintenance. If you open the dictionary to deferred maintenance, there's usually a picture of a veterans building. and it's just the reality of it. And it's not an easy one to fix. And different areas have taken a different tack for doing it. I don't think there's any silver bullet. And I think federal dollars are, as I said earlier, very, very scarce. And now, with the new majority in the House, we no longer have the ability to do earmarks, where before we could earmark money to come to a local project, to a local jurisdiction. We can't do that anymore. And so it becomes even harder to do. I think veterans organizations are going to need to be much more innovative, starting yesterday and moving forward. And there's different things that can be done, and I think every local community, the innovation spreads out differently. For instance, up in Lake County, which is now in my congressional district, and after the lines change, half of Lake County will be an alley, and they can't drive. They have to get to one location at the lake, and they have to get there by 6 in the morning. And as you know, we're all getting older, and it becomes more and more difficult to do that. And they live all around the lake, and the pickup location is in one spot. It's very difficult. And they all have their own veterans meeting areas. And I can tell you, if you put them all together, they don't have a good one. And so they're looking at doing something where they figure out how to either leverage their current equity or they just sell it completely. But they're looking at combining their efforts and doing one facility. And that's probably an option for the folks in Lake County. I know up in Ukiah, they did a local measure, and they went ahead and they refurbished their whole building. They got a real nice building, and they use it for different things in the community. Up in Humboldt County a few years ago, they went out for a countywide ballot measure. I think theirs is older than the Veterans Memorial Building in Santa Rosa, but it's the same. Democrats have their annual crab feed there, so it gets a lot of use. But Humboldt County's initiative failed. People didn't want to do it, and I think a lot of it is there's a lot fewer veterans today than there was back in the day. And with the new all-volunteer military, you don't have the same connection that we used to. We used to get drafted. You used to have everybody. If you were in Vietnam, as I was, or not, you knew somebody who was. You knew somebody whose family member was there. Now it's not the same. It's a different environment. So we're going to have to get far more creative. And I think veterans groups are going to have to be able to figure out, like, we've got this asset. It's not just our asset. It should be a community asset, and we should figure out how to bring the community together to help put together some of those monies to fix it. And I think it's beneficial, especially given how distant communities have come from veterans and veterans issues. I think it is a real value to us as veterans to have a facility that other people can come in and use, and they can, you know, they're experiencing some of the history of the veterans groups and the sacrifices that veterans made. I think it'd be very, very instructive to, for lack of a better term, civilian population.
We've taken a lot of steps to do what you're talking about, which is become more visible, utilize electronic interfaces, use mediums so they know who we are. We've, with our partner, upgraded our building. Our partner is Rebuilding Together, which is the organization that came in and painted our building for us, caused Solano County to come in and replace wainscoting that was rather deteriorated condition. So our building has improved, and because of that, we've been able to build a very nice military man cave bar, if you will, that goes with the building. So
logistic cleaning up of the building also brought in new customers. We're able to rent the building on the looks interior now, much easier than we had in the past. Our clientele has gone probably 50% better this year than last year than it had the previous 2 or 3 years. So that's a plus on both sides.
yeah, I think so.
Sometimes it's a well-kept secret. I know when I first ran for public office, when I first ran for the state senate, and the district went up into Butte and Shasta County, and I had a big fundraiser dinner, and I told my campaign people, I said, I want to rent the Veterans Building in Chico. And they got back to me. They got back to me and they said, they can't believe you want to rent it. They said, you know, this is the veterans group. They said it's old and it's kind of messy and nobody's ever rented this before. And I said, well, I think it'd be a good one to do. I'm a veteran, and you know, I'm proud of that. And we did. We rented it. We had to send it. We got a crew in to clean up. We got a great event. And you would be surprised how many community people came in and said, well, this is nice. I didn't even know this was here.
And that's the comment we get.
Yeah.
People don't know about it. They're trying to become more visible.
And, you know, let me just, don't mean to interrupt you, but the other thing that I'm really big on is through the Library of Congress, there's a Veterans History Program. And I really push it in my current congressional district. And I don't know what the key to success is in this. I think it has to do with maybe my district office in that particular area, a combination of that and a really motivated person in one of the schools. But I've had really great success in a couple of places where they have, students have become very motivated to take on these oral histories. And it's great because it gives kids an opportunity to learn through the eyes of a veteran about some very significant history that we've had. It lets veterans have a chance to interface with young people, with kids. And depending upon how creative it is, it really provides exposure to an even bigger universe within the community. And I've had great success. There's one high school in Yolo County that has done it every year that I've offered it. And they fill their gymnasium. They have just great community support for doing it. They put on a big day, and the community gets involved. The local paper covers it. The community college in Mendocino County got involved at 2 different campuses, and they had just a fantastic turnout. And the whole community, I know we were at one of the schools, and there were as many community people there as there were students and parents came out to see this thing. And so I think anything that we can do to build that nexus between civilians and former military veterans, I think is a big thing.
Congressman?
Wait, let him go first.
Oh,
then.
yes, sir.
Yeah,
I interrupted.
I have 2 things. The first one is, you mentioned the draft. When I was a young man, got out of high school, I was subjected to the draft. So I joined. I didn't want to go in, and it was the time of Cuba you know, starting up. So I figured I'd end up over there in Cuba someplace. Ended up on Tonkin Gulf instead. But, you know, today we have this all-volunteer Army. And I have many friends that went through the draft and served in Vietnam. And I think that they're better people for it today. And I don't think we're allowing our children, my kids were not subject to the draft. I mean, yeah, they had to register, but they never, you know. I really feel that we're missing the boat by not having a draft. It may turn some kids into thinking that they need to go into a service, either the Marines, the Army, their choice. They have a choice. Otherwise,
Hopefully it's the Army.
All the way.
But even if it is in the military, there should be some kind of a community service draft. We need, with the economy the way it is, we need to get these kids started off on the right program after they get out of school to continue to grow. And it could be to help the elders. You know, we used to have a CC program and stuff, and I think that would be a step in the right direction.
You'll get no argument from me on that. I tried to do that at the state level when I was in the state legislature, and you'll be interested. You know what the argument that my buddies on the other side of the proverbial aisle used against that? That it was going to be used to create, to enlist Democrats and get all the, get Democrats more active. I think it would be a good thing. We couldn't do it at the state level, and it wasn't even compulsory. It was voluntary deal that I tried to do. At the federal level, my colleague Charlie Ragland, and that everybody should be able to should participate. And he got no traction on his, and I think it's too bad. And we know that. We know that, and it happened in Vietnam. There was a disproportionate number of people from impoverished areas, from areas with high ethnic populations, and that is a real issue. That was one we should all be concerned about.
My other thing is, you brought up concealed weapons. You know, I'm looking at this thing that happened back in Florida, and I'm seeing this guy Zimmerman. Unfortunately, this kid got killed. But I don't think this guy Zimmerman, from what I see on the news, he had a concealed weapon and meant to carry a weapon. Yet he had a background problem, from what I see. Domestic violence and something else. He assaulted a police officer. How he could have ever gotten a concealed weapon?
Resist arrest, Fred.
Huh?
Resist an arrest.
That's correct. And then another part of that bothers me is to use deadly force, whether you're being attacked. His life was not in danger. He was the perpetrator of that particular crime, or whatever was going on. The issue being that Florida has this law for this
Stand your ground.
stand your ground. And I understand there's other states that have this also.
14 of them, I think.
22 states. I don't understand how that can happen, and I think the federal government needs to stand up against that.
I don't know the particulars about the case. I know it's tragic, and whenever anybody's life is taken, it's tragic. I have never based a whole lot of faith on what I read in the news. I'm sure that you've got to. There's a process by which they're going to get to the bottom of this,
yes.
And I'm confident that it will be done in a way where justice prevails. I think, from what I've seen on the stand your ground stuff, I think you're right. I think there's a problem with it. I don't know what each state has. I know that the author of the bill was interviewed standing under that law. that, you know, he pursued this kid. He wasn't, nobody came into his house, nobody was threatening him. He went after the kid.
That's correct.
And you know, when 911 tells you to do something or not, you have to behave, you ought to listen. There's people that do that for a business. I've got a son who's a detective, and that's his job, you know, and he'll tell you in a minute that, you know, you don't try and take things into your own hands, and all you're gonna do is get yourself in trouble.
Ben, we'll come back to you, and then I'd like to give DCAT a chance to talk
Okay,
to
thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This had to do with your statement earlier about informing the military and the people of the military. Here at Jesse Bethel High School, we have NJROTC, and we just presented them with Memorial Day and Veterans Day for posting colors. It seems like they're backing off on NJRO and NRO. We need to keep the ROTC program going, whether it's Army or Navy. We need to keep it in our colleges. We need to help them people out. I know my own son in '72 got a scholarship to Notre Dame. So we need to keep that.
It's also reduced in its numbers this last year because it was based at Hogan High School. Hogan High School is now a junior high, and they moved the kids up here to Bethel, and I don't know, the transition reduced the number to about half of what it was before. It is a very good program, and it needs to continue.
You gotta get with John McCain on the other side. You guys work together.
Well, I have no problem with those programs. And, I think schools need to, figure out what they need and stuff. But I'd never be one to tell a school what they can or can't have in that regard.
I'm one of the administrators here at Jesse Bethel High School, and one of the, as some of you who are local in the community may know, we are transitioning to include more and more academies for our students. And the very next academy we're looking at is a public service academy built around, one of the cornerstones is going to be our Navy JROTC. NJROTC, thank you.
We'll work
So
together.
oh, good, I'm looking forward to it, because it is a vital program, and the skills that the students learn through that program that they're not getting anywhere else. So we also, and we did recognize that when we moved, the program moved and the kids had to choose, and so that is something that is paramount.
So who would it be?
It would be, right now, honestly, don't know who would be doing this. There's going to be some restructuring going on. This is going to be moving down.
I think we could fit many of your still would be all right. It's another half hour.
But I don't think that's the America in which we want to live, nor is it the America that all of the veterans that you acknowledged earlier put on the uniform to stand up to defend.
Yes, sir. In a prior show, I had the privilege of having Colonel Destry sit where you're sitting. He was the former base commander of Travis Air Force Base, commander of the 60th Air Mobility Wing. He picked up a 1-star and he's moved on. But a great guy, a real patriot, a really great American. Really enjoyed meeting him and talking to him. When he was here on the show, we were having a discussion about the possibility, well, first of all, the role of Travis Air Force Base, not only in the defense of the Pacific Rim,
5 years after our nation